They don't really want to think about if I had it in my environment and I had to do a patch, how do I know if somebody wasn't there before I did that patch?
Hey everybody, and welcome to the Incident Report presented by Quest Technology Management. I'm Paul Burke, Director of Technology Communications, and every week I'm joined by VP of Sales and Partnerships, Adam Burke. The Incident Report brings you conversations with thought leaders, business innovators, and channel mavericks to help you stay productive and agile in a changing technology landscape. Today we welcome Mike Dillon, Chief Technology Officer for Quest. Mike brings over 27 years of disaster recovery, security, and engineering experience to his role. Dillon leads technology strategy development and planning and serves as Chief Consultant and Director for Quest Professional, Managed, and Cloud Services. As CTO, Dillon oversees a team of consultants, engineers, experts, and project managers. Dillon created and developed the Quest application and development service providers platforms that are ongoing today. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode. Today we are talking about Log4J and where are we now? As always, Adam Burke is joining me.
Good to be here, Paul. Excited to be back.
And we have Mike Dillon, CTO of Quest Technology Management. Hey Mike, how's it going?
Hey, Paul, good. How about you today?
Doing great and excited to figure out where we're at with Log4J. It's been out since December 10th, or at least the vulnerability was discovered December 10th. What's happening now?
Well, a lot of people have done probably a lot of scanning, a lot of applications, updating their applications, asking their vendors, asking their partners like us. We have a lot of customers asking us to, what have we done? Give us an update. So I think a lot of people have gone through that wave, hoping that's all they have to worry about is just doing some releases and some updates and keeping up with their software vendors about their direction of what to do with their applications. So I think that's where everyone's probably at right now. Probably a little bit coming off the holidays, still, shaking off a little bit of dust off of being out for a couple of weeks and trying to get their feet around this. I've seen customers try to figure out what to do next, other than just scanning and do the release of.
Is this something like consumers need to be worried about? Because Quest, we do a lot of B2B. Is there on the consumer end a concern for them as well for Log4j?
Well, it's probably the biggest target market for threat actors with this because there's everything of IoT, right? Your refrigerator to your ring to whatever. So, and consumers, like with corporations at times, have a hard time patching things and doing the release and updates. And most consumers don't think of it. So it is something consumers should be thinking about. Are they? I'm not hearing a lot of that within my little circle of friends if they're thinking about it, other than, hey, what's this Log4j thing? And that's it.
From a remote access standpoint, are we seeing like this give access to people who use things like Simply Safe? And just because we all saw those creepy videos where people took advantage of open backdoors for video surveillance and things like that. Is this a similar exploit where it gives people the ability to access systems remotely that usually they wouldn't have access to through the Log4j exploit? Is that something that people are trying to attack?
That is one of the threats here, that it could, somebody gets in, compromises it because of this threat, they could get remote access. If it is your baby monitor system or your, like refrigerator or something like that's an IoT deal, that's all possible.
Is IoT one of the things that is maybe making this feel like such a big impact now, that because Log4j is a functionality that's embedded in things that often don't even think about. It's your, like you said, it's your refrigerator, it's your router, it's anything that's logging events. With the IoT and the smart home systems and smart building management, is it just everywhere?
It's just everywhere. Java it's a lightweight. Obviously, it's a shareware, so it's low cost for some of the software rights and those type of things with it. Everyone's used it, even like we talked about last time, even Microsoft, right? So it's just a real common platform. And it's perfect for IoT things, not necessarily from a threat perspective, but from a functionality perspective, it's a good tool.
Yeah, Paul and I have talked about this before, that sometimes you extend convenience, you make things simple, you make them convenient for people to manage, monitor, support. I guess this is the other side of that sword, is it's, as you simplify those things, you can also potentially leave yourself open for a vulnerability. Do you sense people in the business community are taking it seriously, that there could be a significant ongoing threat here, or what's your sense?
I get a sense here a little bit that I think people are just doing some due diligence, again, doing the releases and the patches and whatnot. I get a sense that's where they just want to go. They don't really want to think about, if I had it in my environment and I had to do a patch, how do I know if somebody wasn't there before I did that patch? But they don't want to think about that. They just want to say, I did my due diligence. I've looked at my applications. We've done some scanning. We've done some updates, and we're good. Now, that's probably about 80 to 90% of the folks that we see. The other 10 to 20% are getting further into going, hey, what is vulnerable now to the internet more? Because that's the big deal too, is that if something was present to the internet and had Log4j, it raises your chances of being, compromised more. So people are now trying to get into, which I definitely understand why. Hey, what are my exact rules of my firewall? Why is this server accessed to the internet? So people are trying to figure out those components too. And those are all great. That's all part of the CIS requirements and the framework to go through and specifically with a fine-tooth comb, go through your firewall configuration, go through your intrusion protection systems, go through your internet-facing devices and figure out why do I have to have it exposed? And if I have to have it exposed, how do I minimize my risk? So that's been another 10 or 20% of our clients that have been going through that. The other part of that 10 to 20% has also been doing some threat hunting. So that threat hunting are folks that may have been really concerned that it was in their environment. They're really going to go through. And part of the CIS rules tells you to do this, get in with tools to see if the threat actors, the bad guys, are not already present within your environment. And you may not have the systems in place to see that. So you may have to deploy some threat hunting tools or services to go out and chase them down within your enterprise. So those are the things that we're seeing coming through, from patching to your edge review of your firewall, IPS devices, and then getting into do threat hunting. Some customers have also asked us to get into, which is a smaller number, but some customers have asked us to get into their applications and even third-party applications to validate if the third-party vendors have done their job removing this. It is enough right now to probably spread that fear across all of those different categories with just this one threat since, like you said, Adam, since December 10th or so. So that's pretty significant. And that's really significant to get the whole world to be thinking about this in the past 30 to 40 days.
Are you discovering organizations who think they have the IT teams capable of searching for all of this? Are they turning to us? We thought we had the tools, but we clearly don't.
Yeah, there's some, and I'll call this, basic thought of scanning, because we see that scanning, internal, external scannings and different types of scanning. We see that as a core basic security practice. We do a lot of scanning for clients, and some clients we don't. So we've gone out and done a lot of scanning with them to try to identify areas that have this vulnerability. And then when it gets probably further than that, like going through your firewall configuration and get a third-party review to challenge, why is this rule in place? Because maybe the IT group at that customer has just seen it so often, they just miss it. And the other side is that you really do need to have expertise that not only find it at times, but also now how do I minimize that rule and how do I minimize the risk? So you really need people that work with firewalls and intrusion protection systems all day long. This would not be a good thing to have your gardener and throw him a hammer and tell him to get up on a roof and start doing your roof. This would not be that one.
How does this affect compliance with insurance?
Yeah. Two things. I'm going to break it down to two thoughts here. There's insurance and then compliance. So both groups, your insurance companies or insurance companies and compliance agencies, are asking people, what are they doing for Log4j? What have you done for Log4j? In some of the cases, definitely on the compliance, right, they want you to write up, what have you done for Log4j? In insurance, they want to see proof. Hey, have you done your scans? Show us your areas that were vulnerable. So people are asking specifically right now. And again, just within 30 to 40 days here, show us what you've done in respect to Log4j. And if credit unions, banks, DoD agencies, whatever the compliance is, health groups, if they don't have a good story here, that's going to raise a lot of questions within that organization. So right now, a lot of people are thinking and are being told and are being asked, you better get your Log4j process figured out, and you better have it documented and validated, because we're going to come and ask you about it.
If organization was to come to you today, what action plan would you suggest? What kind of series of steps just to help them out? What would you suggest they go through?
Yeah. We really have been watching the CIS. It's a framework, which we think is pretty good. It's pretty common. It follows the NIST standards and those type of things. And awareness is a big deal here. Right up front is the awareness of where is this within your own environment, and then with all of your vendors, and then document that well. And then you go and try to find it. So that's your scanning. People are trying to find out if they could see it anywhere other than what the vendors are saying, because maybe your users have done some third-party tool or some of their own programming or loaded stuff on their desktop in the first place. So awareness is a big deal. Where is it? Who's doing what with it? So that's a big step there. Second step is to prevent, look at the front door and see what's coming in and going. And that's when you're getting into your intrusion protection, IPS, your firewall rules, your devices that are exposed to the internet. That would be the other part. What's your vulnerability out to the internet? So that would be your second part. Your third part is, have they already gotten in? So do I have logs? Can I go out and do analysis on logs? Do I need to do threat hunting? How do I know if they haven't already gotten in? And that would be your third leg to that, is looking and see if somebody's gotten in. And then you just work through the list. You have to work through all of your applications. You got to work through all the what ifs. You got to work through all of your firewall rules that you may change. You got to work through your logs that you may see suspicious activity with. You got to look through your threat tool. And then you're just going to go through a whole cleaning and get healthy program.
That's really helpful.
Yeah. And that I'm seeing right now, again, being 30 to 40 days, that's probably to level set with people in your management team. That whole process, that could be anywhere from 20 days to probably 90 days. So in the next 20 to 90 days, how do I build that framework? How do I make sure I go through all my due diligence and make sure that when my compliance person comes and talks to me, hey, here's my program and here's what I've done. You don't have just one of the three legs done. You have all three of them done.
Wow. So up to 90 days. You
got to plan this through, because some of the stuff is, you got to, schedule for downtime. You got to do testing. Some customers just aren't just going to throw code out there. They have a software lifecycle development that they have to go through some of those processes still. They just can't, for every vendor comes in the next day, throw it out there and see if it works and make sure it doesn't bring things down. So there's a process that some customers have to go through their change management cycles to get this stuff done too.
And is it possible to come out the other side 100% clean?
I don't know about the word clean. You could feel better and you could have a good report card. I'm not sure if you're always 100% clean here, because it's just so, this thing is just everywhere. So okay. You're probably going to come out probably knowing a lot more about your environment, knowing some more of your threats, knowing that you've cleaned a lot of them, knowing that you're working your due diligence with the compliance teams, and knowing you could get cybersecurity insurance without a bunch of, issues. So that would be a good second quarter if you could go through that feeling pretty good about those items.
And is this like just an ongoing wash, rinse, repeat sort of situation, or is it once you do it, you're done?
This will probably add some steps to what you did, prior to December 10th, if you will. So this will probably be new things that maybe you weren't doing before, okay, or maybe you weren't doing as often. So again, this isn't going to go away. This isn't going to just be completely done with. come second quarter of this year or something. This is adding the threat actors, like we all have experience from, having TSA to having COVID. The threats behind all this stuff just isn't going to go away anytime soon.
Thank you, Mike. That's really helpful. I appreciate it a lot.
Paul, I think an analogy might help here. So I'm always good with analogies. So
Adam, you love an analogy.
I love an analogy. Imagine you come home, you got a brand new bundle of joy you're bringing home from the hospital. You haven't been in your house for about 3 or 4 days, and you come home and the front door is wide open. Are you gonna take that bundle of joy and just stick it in the nursery in that house? You don't know what's in there. No, you're gonna clear that house with a bat or something a little more severe to make sure that there's nothing lurking in there that's going to cause you problems. So sometimes, when Mike's talking about that ongoing security mentality of, okay, I'm not quite sure how long this door has been left wide open, but I got stuff that I care about in this house. I got to figure out what's lurking in here or what maybe got in before I closed that front door or back door and locked it. And it's a constantly managing, maintaining that security awareness and that idea that's never really gone, especially heaven forbid, the door's been left open and they figure out a way to re-enter once you figure out how to lock it. So it's not going to go away. You're never going to be clean, if you will.
Oh man, the skies have parted, Adam, and I finally understand.
The analogies can always sometimes just bring it home. I'm full of them. I'm told I'm full of it quite often.
I hear what you're saying. Mike, thanks for that. Adam, thanks for the analogy.
We're here to spread joy, right? So that's what this is about, is spreading joy.
Yeah, that's why we put this series together. That's why we put this special series together, is to spread joy.
Yeah.
Mike, thanks so much for joining us.
Take care.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks so much for listening. The Incident Report is brought to you by Quest Technology Management. With over 40 years of experience, Quest is a leading technology integrator working seamlessly with your staff and systems to achieve your IT goals. Learn more about everything they do at questsys.com. And if you have questions or suggestions for the podcast, you can always email Adam and myself at theincidentreport@questsys.com. Links are in the description. We hope you have a great week, and we'll see you next time.